Alright, the main cover card of Divine Set 13 is here, being the Berucrea ride line. So let's begin. So before we actually begin with the ride line, for more information on the prequel comic, we got Kioma Phantom. And honestly, out of all characters to pick, I was not expecting Kioma, but at the same time, I kinda wish that he was actually the Dragon Empire Phantom user in the anime, for the reason of them playing a similar deck, and also giving Aquilibra a little more stuff. I'm gonna speculate that he's probably the actual CEO instead of Taizo, because his wish for Taizo was so he could actually have fun playing the game rather than have his life as a CEO. And now to the ride line itself. Here's the starter, Future Magic Caster Berucrea, which you do have to run just because of the grade 1. And also Berucrea is in the name. In which we go to the grade 1 with key power, Apprentice Magic Caster Berucrea, which has a skill auto when placed by Ryan on top of the Future Magic Caster Berucrea, costs Soul Blast 1, search your deck and or hand up to 3 magic cards with different names and put them to the order zone. Of course, if you search your deck, shuffle it, and if you put at least one from hand, you draw a card. Kinda would have been better if it says for each one you put from hand you draw a card, just for the fact that just in case you draw 3 of them. But essentially it's a grade 1 card that just sets you up, and you will actually really need this skill anyway. In which we go to the grade 2 with 10 key power, Peerless Magic Caster Berucrea, which has a skill auto when rolled upon by at least a grade 3 Berucrea, look at top 7 cards of your deck to choose up to 2 cards from among them to put them to the drop zone, and of course shuffle your deck. Typical grade 2 that just sets you up, and yes, you will be calling from drop zone since this is Stoicheia we're talking about, and casting magic. And speaking of magic, to the set order magic cards themselves, starting off with the grade 1 Enhanced Magic Star King, which all of them can only be played 1 copy per deck except for 1, and each of them have a very similar condition where act order zone, cost, rest this card. All of them will have that condition except for 1, but this one has the condition where if you have at least a grade 1 Vanguard Magic Caster, choose one of your units, it gets a spiky power in turn. But for the rest of the turn, you cannot rest magic cards through their own abilities except through a Magic Caster. Spoiler alert, your grade 3 is going to be able to cast another magic, but essentially it means that you can only activate one of these per turn, and then your grade 3 can actually cast another one. And pretty much the main 3 set orders are going to have this condition as well, but obviously being the grade 1 is going to be the weakest one. In which we go to the grade 2, Growth Magic Vexto. Once again, it's a set order magic that you can only play 1 per deck, and this one requires you to have a grade 2 magic caster in the Vanguard to rest the card, to not only not let you rest another magic card for the rest of the turn, except through Magic Caster, but you also draw a card. But until the end of the fight, this skill is going to be completely lost, and that's mainly because of the second skill where it's kind of a weaker version. Similar condition, act order zone, grade 2 magic caster, you can rest this unit to draw a card and then choose a card from your hand to discard it. And of course you can't rest magic cards for the rest of the turn except through your magic casters. So basically it's a magic card with 2 skills, one that gives you a free draw but only lasts for 1 time per game, and the other one letting you cycle. And of course both doesn't let you play in the same turn, as their conditions to not let you play any other magic cards for the rest of the turn, but once again it's a must play as it's one of your different magic cards. And into the grade 3 magic card, Healing Magic Alunis. Same conditions, can only have 1 in the deck, and also act order zone, rest this card while you have at least a grade 3 magic caster to choose a normal unit that is not sentinel from your drop zone to call it to rear guard, and then of course you can't play magic cards for the rest of the turn except through magic casters. But additionally, it has a count order zone. Whenever you call a unit with this card's ability, that called unit's auto abilities cannot activate. So basically no auto abilities on the call. It is nice that you got a superior calling option, hence the healing part to revive one of your allies. I just don't like the part where it nullifies the auto abilities, because we still got quite a bit of cards that still let you play auto abilities regardless from call, so it's just kind of awkward that they added this condition. Although I'm just going to assume because this one's free. Regardless, this one's a must play as it's just another magic, and it's one of your better ones that you're going to play every turn anyway. And now to the grade 3 with 13 key power, Great Magic Caster of Eternity Berucrea, which has a skill auto Vanguard. When you play a grand magic order or activate the active ability of your magic card in the order zone, this card gives us 5 key power in your turn, hence one of them being able to play one of them by itself, and through its next skill could play another one, because the next skill is act Vanguard once per turn, cost Soul Blast 1, rest a magic card in the order zone to activate its act ability of its magic rest cost without paying the cost. Feels almost like Veissrugr here, activate the Moon Gate and then Veissrugr activates the Moon Gate once again, but in this case a little more like Welstra because they have their own unique abilities from the order zone. Not much to say about this skill, it just basically lets you play some more skills from your order zone, similar to Welstra basically, and gaining extra power like Welstra because each one you activate from the order zone means more power. Although they are restricted to magic casters, so right now I'm not too sure about the rearguard support. But the final skill is a bit surprising to me because of one thing. Auto Vanguard once per turn at the end while this unit attack, cost counterblast 1, stand this unit, and change its drive to 0 during a turn. turn. Yes, it's basically another Vanguard attack with 0 drive checks in a similar vein to Varga basically, but I'm a bit surprised that there's literally no condition for this restand. No at least resting 2 Magicks in a turn, just literally a counterblast 1 to just restand the Vanguard with 0 drive checks, which will relate to another card that we will explain later, but overall as a grade 3, this is not entirely too bad, but everything really relates with your Magic cards, especially if they decide to make more, but if they decided not to, then this deck can get lackluster over time. And now we go to the quote-unquote ultimate magic, which is also a normal order, which is the Grand Magic Eternal Grand Magic Sigrid Lohas, which can also be played from the drop zone, and you play it if your Vanguard is Berucrea, while your opponent's Vanguard is at least grade 3, and you have at least 3 different set order magic cards in the order zone, which I'll have to say it's not a hard condition, and this is basically discard fodder as it could be cast from the drop zone, and the part that you could technically activate this as the 3rd magic because through Berucrea's skill, along with one of your magic card skill, and then this one casting as the ultimate spell, in which this spell is that bind this card, and then your Vanguard's drive checks cannot be decreased until the end of the turn. Basically 2 Vanguard attacks with double twin drive. Hence why I say the last skill is going to be linked to something, but regardless you're going to have to run this as it's both discard fodder and it literally pluses you through your Vanguard drive checks. And now to the remaining support cards, starting off with Treetop Bow Hunter Treetop, which is grade 1 with your power. The skill is auto drop. When you play a Grand Magic order, negate the normal order of the deck. If you do not have a rear guard with the same name as this card, you may call this a rear guard. And if you do, this card gives us 2k power in turn. At the moment, there's only 1 Grand Magic order, but free calls are always nice. With the second skill word, count rear guard. If you have at least a grade 3 Vanguard Berucrea, this card gets intercept and can also intercept from the back row. Pretty nice. It's already a 10k booster or attacker that can call itself as well for free, especially since this is an order heavy deck, so you're gonna really need these. And having an extra defensive value is always pretty nice. And speaking of defensive value, the last skill where auto when put on Guardian costs Energy Blast 3, this unit gets shield plus 10k in the end of battle, so you can be a 15k shield as well. Although for order based decks, the extra shield does really help since you're gonna run a lot of 0 shields. But regardless, this is a must play for the deck. And then we go to Amiable Fairy, which is grade 2 when taking power, and the skill is auto when placed on rearguard. While you have a Vanguard Berucrea, look at top 3 cards of your deck to choose up to 1 card from among them to put it to the drop. Of course, check your deck. Set up more drop zone for more superior calls, pretty nice. With the second skill, auto rearguard, once per turn when this card attacks, if you have at least a grade 3 Vanguard Berucrea and it was placed from drop zone during the turn, plus 15k power in the end of the turn. AKA use healing magic to heal this back and thus getting back a big ass beater. And also it has an early game skill as well, so it's also pretty helpful for the early game. And since this is a normal order heavy deck, the extra power might be very helpful. And now we go to the Stoicheia Mythisch unit, Mythisch of Eternity, Niels Vigor, which is grade 2 where taking power, and the skill is count. If your Vanguard is Berucrea, it gets all the following abilities. Count, this card cannot be affected by any counter abilities from your healing magic Alunis from the order zone, which is actually essential because that one nullifies all the auto abilities when you call something from its ability. Hence, the next skill of its auto ability when placed on rearguard costs count plus 1. Look at top 5 cards of your deck to choose up to 1 Berucrea from among them or 1 Grand Magic from among them and put it in your hand. Of course, shove your deck, but if you fail, you draw a card. Once again, a Mythisch being support for its own respective deck, but regardless, you have to play this one as it's just more consistency booster, in which the next skill is linked to your Vanguard because auto rearguard when you're at least grade 3 Vanguard attacks, this card gets 5k power in turn. Since Berucrea attacks twice, this is going to get a total of a 10k buff, unless if they decide to make another magic that actually lets you restand the Vanguard. Regardless, this is a must play for more consistency searching. And finally, here are the secret rares, which also includes the Mythisch one, which is actually pretty awesome as well that they decided to put both main boss units. And that also includes Mitru's Dark State one, which is always kind of weird to me that they decided not to reveal it with the reveal stream. And then next week we got the Dragon Empire Phantom Ride line, which keep in mind is a original Phantom unit because there's no original form of it yet. And so that's it for the new cover card of Berucrea Ride line. What do you guys think of it? Design, it looks pretty awesome, and I do like that it's an order-based deck once again, since it feels like we've been lacking those lately, and just seeing more of those is just pretty awesome to me. Especially even though the playstyle is in a way similar to basically Veissrugr and Welstra, where you basically play something from the order zone, I am just wondering how they're going to support this concept later on. Although with the Grand Magic is actually pretty easy because they just need to print more Grand Magic to make the deck stronger if they want to do that. But casting them from the set orders is going to be the weird part because you can only have 1 casted per turn through their own abilities and then plus Berucrea. So I don't think that's going to change, but the Grand Magics might change in the future. And I hope for future support, Berucrea also has an apprentice card that is also a magic caster that can cast magic from the order zone as well. because every master must have a student. But overall awesome concept, and I just hope that this is not another Stoicheia deck that is just gonna die. But on that, that's it for this, and see you all next time.